What is the strangest thing you've witnessed someone do in public? I moved to a town which had a bit of a bad reputation. The first thing I saw when I was bringing boxes in was a man walking down the street with a bunch of plastic bags on fire. He was holding it like a lantern and was so casual about it despite flaming plastic dripping onto him. Actually like the town though. It's got character. Characters. I was stopped at a red light and there was a lady in the car next to me. She was having really sporadic head movements. Not the head bob dancing type, but just kinda crazy. After like 10 to 15 seconds of this her neck went limp and her head just hung forward. The light turned green, and I hesitated a moment wondering if she needed medical care and was about to pull in front of her to check on her when her head abruptly jerked back up and she drove off without hesitation. I saw a dude with a suitcase, completely naked entering our train. His facial expressions were normal. He looked concerned and stared at his phone the entire time until I had to get out. Casual Fridays at the office is getting out of hand. I saw a woman on the GO train pull out an entire raw white onion from her purse then proceed to eat it like an apple, as if it were nothing. She was tearing up and didn't seem to be enjoying it much. Once saw a man standing next to an extremely expensive looking home jump headfirst into a hedge, pull himself out, look at the hedge, and jump back in headfirst. He continued to do this for a while until someone nearby asked him if he were okay, to which he responded with "Don't worry, this is my hedge, I'm just bored." Still to this day I respect his casual not giving a damn vibe. He should have let someone else have a try instead of keeping it all for himself. Just the hedge fund manager hogging it all for himself. I watched a woman walk into Chipotle, wash her hands for a solid 5 minutes under the Sprite in the soda fountain, and then fill up a trash bag fully with the Sprite and walk out with it. If I was working there, I'd have just stood there and watched, because there's no way I'm interfering with whatever's going on. Suburban mom gets free soda for life using this one weird trick you won't believe. Cashiers hate her. Right in front of my house, a couple of guys stopped their car, left it in the middle of the street, and began a fist fight. Then after a couple of minutes of each of them throwing more or less ineffectual punches, they both stopped and got back in the car and drove away. It's that last part that makes it so strange. If an argument had proceeded to blows, then I wouldn't just get back in the car with the other guy, as if nothing ever happened. There was a man running down the sidewalk who stopped when he got close and yelled "strange fruit," and then farted into traffic, somehow not getting hit. He ran off down the street yelling about strange fruit. How does one fart into traffic? I'm genuinely curious. Dart. My bad. I was in a bathroom stall the other day when a little boy, maybe 6 to 7 years old, goes in the stall beside me. He sits on the toilet and starts humming some made up tune. That was already a little funny but nothing uncommon. Then he starts aggressively humming louder and louder. It gets to the point where it's almost just shrieking, and then he suddenly stops because he's out of breath. 2 seconds later I hear a plop in the toilet and he then begins singing "Hallelujah, Hallelujah, I just pooped in the toilet," and repeats it a few times. I was almost passing out from trying to hide my laughter. I wrestled in high school and was down about 20 pounds for a tournament. We were walking back to the hotel after weigh-ins and my pants kept falling down as I forgot a belt. One of my buddy's dads asked me if I needed a belt and I said sure do, thinking it was a joke or maybe he had an extra one in the hotel. He proceeds to take off his belt, give it to me, pulls a second belt out of his front pocket and puts it on. No idea why he had 2 identical leather belts with him that day, but I appreciated it. I saw a man having a staring contest with a stray dog. He didn't speak. He just stared, and the dog stared back, and I stared at them until I realized I was staring at a man staring at a dog which was staring at the man. While visiting my wife, GF at the time, at her college, I watched a group of male students execute the following. One of them laid in a patch of grass. The others covered him in a blanket, then proceeded to cover the blanket with slices of bread from the cafeteria. The individual under the blanket held perfectly still and waited until the blanket was covered with squirrels munching on bread. He then jumped up and tried to catch a squirrel, unsuccessfully. An elderly lady who only gets around town in a full wizard outfit and a staff with a shiny orb in the top. She stopped in front of the supermarket one day and just started shrieking and sobbing uncontrollably at the doors, then got up, wipes away the tears, and walk off like it was nothing. One night when the bars were closing in downtown Portland, I saw a guy dressed very purposely in basically rags for clothes wearing this giant strange looking sculpted head that I can't even describe. It looked like something out of a college production of Pan's Labyrinth. He was carrying a large box. I pointed him out to my BF saying I wonder what that's about. My BF proceeds to go up and indeed ask him what the getup was about. Turns out he's a cross-country traveling performance artist. We gave him $5 and he proceeded to open his box of goodies, unfolded the box into a little stage, and do the best, most bizarre, weirdest, surreal, creepy, and thought-provoking puppet show I've ever seen. He had tons of strange little props and musical instruments. He ended up drawing a crowd of about 20 people. I'll never forget it. It was amazing. A couple was sitting within eyeshot of where I was seated at a restaurant. The wife, I'm assuming, pointed at his mouth and said something. The man rolled up the tip of a napkin and tried to get something out of his tooth. He was unsuccessful in 3 tries. He popped a dental prosthesis containing 3 or 4 teeth out of his mouth and handed it to his wife. She cleaned them and gave them back to him. He sloshed it in his water and popped it back in with a loud click. I set my fork down and was finished eating at that point. I think I was the strangest thing people have witnessed in public. I was at this party at a friend's house. Everything went fine and people got drunk until we started to run out of alcohol. We agreed to with a few friends to a nearby store to buy some more before the shop closes. We forgot about it until it was 10 minutes before the shop's closing time. My friends and I ran straight from the sauna to the store with only our towels on. No shoes nor shirts. Some of the guys accidentally dropped their towels a few times on the way there. The young clerk and what few customers there were just took a double take as we entered the shop. As the clerk was ringing the beers, we made some small talk and she asked if there was a party going on nearby. We told her that yeah, there isn't. Long story short, she ended up joining us after her shift was over. Imagine a bunch of young guys, wrapped only in towels, mad dash run on an open parking lot. It truly was a sight to behold. I was in New York City. Now, I live in the UK, and I was only in America for less than a week, so I'm not up to scratch on New York City cough culture. A man, rather large and dressed only in a pair of swim shorts, laid out a towel, covered himself in sun cream, and began to sunbathe. Not weird, right? Yeah, well, it was under a bridge. A wide bridge at that. He was sunbathing underneath a bridge, in the middle of the pavement, like a troll waiting for 3 billy goats. I watched a woman trying to turn, to get out of a small lane, rather than just reverse into the, not busy, road she was trying to get onto. It consisted of her driving forward into a bollard, then reversing into another bollard, then driving forward into the bollard, reversing. She must have done this 5 or 6 times, each time smashing the crap out of her car. She finally managed to get her car out of the lane and just drove off. It was the oddest thing I've ever seen. I was on a bus that broke down. Driver said it'd be 30 minutes before the next got there, so we could all stay on the bus or get off and hang out until it got there. Well, the woman sitting behind me decided to get off. She'd been talking the whole time she was on, but only when she got off did I realize she was talking to herself. But that's not the good part. She sat down at the bus stop we were stuck at. She was clearly very agitated and arguing with, well, herself. She then started screaming beach over and over again for a good 2 minutes. Then she stood up angrily, marched to the side of the bench, faced the road, threw her arms straight out to her sides and her head straight up, so she was staring at the sky, and just stood like that for probably 10 minutes. I was sitting at a bus stop pretty close to a hospital, when a guy wearing nothing but a flapping hospital gown, and I mean nothing, because he was barefoot and bare-assed, went running past at breakneck speed, while holding a drip stand with a drip attached to his arm. Pretty weird and unexpected. Man in a dirty American football practice outfit, running around downtown Seattle using street signs as the opposing team. He tried to pass to random people, but they looked terrified. Thank you for watching AskReddit. Please like, share and subscribe.